This is a production of WKNO Memphis. Production funding for Behind the Headlines is made possible in part by the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
The issues facing the new County Commission tonight on Behind the Headlines. I'm Eric Barnes, publisher of the Memphis Daily News. Thanks for joining us. We are joined tonight by two people who won their primary elections and are running unopposed in the fall. So, in effect, they have won for their fall seats. Congratulations to you both. To David Reeves, representing you, or you will be, assuming you go on to win your unopposed election, Bartlett and Lakeland.
That's correct.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
And Eddie Jones, you're representing, or won the primary election to represent Whitehaven, Hickory Hill, Parkway Village, and some surrounding areas. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Also joined tonight by Bill Dries, senior reporter with the Memphis Daily News. Let me start, David, you've been on the show before as a school board member. Maybe I'll start with you. You have won this primary election. What are your goals? Why, some would say, would you put yourself into a bigger stage with more potential abuse and criticism from people? But why run for county commissioner? What are your goals for your district and for the county as a whole?
Well, sure. So when we were going through the campaign cycle, the message that I have for most of my voters was we want a couple of things. We want a low tax rate and we want quality education. But the reality is that the tax rate is being driven by the poverty level in Shelby County due to the cost of services. So the big goal that I have, and hopefully I can work with my partner here on the county commission, is to work to put in a strategic plan to lower the poverty rate in Shelby County. And that should drive the tax rate down because poverty really is what's driving the property tax rate in the county.
All right. And Eddie Jones, this is your first elected office, first win, is that, I believe?
Yeah, that's correct.
We talked a little bit before the show. What were your goals? What are your primary goals as a county commissioner?
Basically, almost what David said. The budget and how the poverty has been a problem with Shelby County for a while. And one of the things that I said, I work for the city of Memphis in code enforcement. And one of the things that I see to be one of the biggest problems is fixing our tax base, because that's where 75% of that budget comes from. And I think banks are a part of that problem that's causing our communities to go down and stay below that poverty level. And what's happening, they'll foreclose on a property, leave it in the foreclosed person's name. That property stays out there for 4 years on the tax roll, no taxes being collected. One of the things that I want to do is to see if we can put together a foreclosure registry so that we can keep that tax-based money coming into Shelby County. That's one of the things. And getting it out in my district so that people can get to know me. I think another problem that they have is trust and transparency. They don't trust their elected officials. They don't think government is transparent enough for them. And that's what I want to do. And we want to make sure we work on education to get that properly funded.
All right, Bill.
When the votes are all counted in the August county general election, there will be 7 new county commissioners, including you two. So we will have a majority of new members on that body. You've both had a chance to see how the current county commission works over some period of time. Let me start with you, Eddie. What do you think needs to change about the county commission? How do you think the commission will be different once the new group takes the oath in September?
Well, I am hopeful that the new commissioners coming on can work together beyond party lines to do what's best for all citizens in Shelby County. We've had a lot in the past where they didn't cooperate with each other. Everything was about party lines, and at the end of the day, the people suffered for it. And it's my hope that we can get together, work together to improve that.
And we should point out, David, that Eddie is a Democrat, you are a Republican.
Right.
So what are your thoughts about how the commission changes with the new term of office?
From my viewpoint, I believe that the goal is to create a comprehensive strategy that we all agree that we want to attain. And the first one is we need to look at how we lower the poverty rate in Shelby County. Whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, we believe that that's something we should be doing because we both want a lower tax rate. We both want a lower poverty rate. So poverty is not a Democrat issue, a Republican issue. I mean, it's both of our issues. So I think that our goal as a county is we need to come together and we need to go, okay, how are we going to lower the poverty rate? How are we going to force the property tax rate down? What are we going to do in education to move away from a very collegiate-centric minded education model to more of we want kids who can go into the workforce if they don't want to go to college. If they want to go into, we don't have enough qualified children to go into the workforce when they graduate. They're not ready to get a job. And what happens? They have a choice. They either have a life of poverty or they do something else, or a life of crime in some aspects. So what we want to do is we want to provide them choices. And to do that, we need to make sure education is provided in a way. To me, that's the key to eliminate. We'll never totally eliminate poverty, but to minimize it and to make it lower. And so I think that that's where I would like to focus.
When you talk about schools, you also talk about working together and differences coming together. I mean, you spent what seemed like probably many, many years, but it's been 2 or 3 years
Right.
in the heat of this consolidation and then a deconsolidation.
Right.
I mean, are there lessons learned from that you look at and you say, you know, there were people I worked with that I didn't think I'd work with, people who were against me I thought would be with me. I mean, it was a very fractious and very divisive, and some people would say, whole process. What did you learn from that, and how does that translate to being a county commissioner?
Well, I was blessed. I mean, at the time, I didn't see it that way because we were going through such a tumultuous time, and we had folks on both sides, and it didn't have to be Republican or Democrat. It was suburban versus urban, right? But once we came together finally and got the new board appointed, it really opened my eyes to a lot of the issues that are facing Shelby County in its totality. I'm from a very suburban area, but I did not have visibility into what was going on to many of my urban partners' neighborhoods. But I do now. I went to the school closure meetings. I went into communities and looked at what the impact was if we built a new school. And I learned a lot. So based upon that experience, it provided me a lot of insight into what was going on at the county level. That way I could take it to the county commission to understand these are the issues that we need to address.
I mean, you're ultimately, I'm going to ask you, Eddie, the same question. Are you happy with how it, not with the end result of where the schools are now? And again, transitioning from a county commission perspective and the funding of schools and the votes you'll and the considerations you'll have as a county commissioner, not as a school board member, are you happy for the Bartlett-Lakeland district and happy for Shelby County as a whole?
I'm a true believer that government that functions closest to the people is the best government. It's the most transparent. So I believe municipal districts provide that. I believe that city governments are supposed to provide that as well.
Right.
So from my viewpoint, I'm not necessarily happy with the current results, but we are getting better. Okay. We're getting better with our budget. We're getting better. We're tying it to goals. And what's going to happen when they come to the county commission and say, David, these are our goals over 10 years. This is how we're tracking to our objectives in funding. Then it's a lot easier to approve the funding.
Okay. Let me get, Eddie, are you, again, I'm sure you weren't involved, but you were watching what was going on with the schools and the consolidation, deconsolidation. Are you happy with where it is now and how schools in your district, schools as a whole, are funded and managed and operated?
Well, I wasn't elected, but I was PTA council president. I was the chairman for the parent assembly district-wide in the school system. Served on the Teacher Effective Initiative Advisory Council. So I was very involved, but from a parental perspective in the district. And
some would say that's a lot more important than what the elected officials did. Really, people would say that. It's all about the parents, it's all about the parent involvement. But I interrupted.
Right, but that's okay. And so I had a good understanding. Are we where I think we need to be? I think we are getting there. We're not there where we need to be right now.
Right.
And in the midst of this merger, demerger, and everything that's going on with the school system, no, but from a commissioner's standpoint, commissioners are responsible for educating all children in Shelby County. It doesn't make a difference if they're in the suburbs or in the inner city. We're responsible for all of them.
A quick question. Right now on the table, you must know you won't be voting on this, but there's this big capital improvement ask that the Shelby County schools are put forward, around $50 million. The suburban schools would like a piece of that, to put it bluntly. How would you vote if you were on the county commission right now?
All children.
All children.
All children. How can I choose one over the other? All of them have to be.
So would you like to
educated.
see the suburban schools get a piece of that $50 million?
It'd be fine for me because they're part of Shelby County.
Okay.
You can't exclude part of them when they're all inclusive.
All right. And David,
Yeah, I agree, and I agree with Eddie, because the thing is that the original CIP plan had very specific needs on it, the 5-year plan, and many suburban schools were in that for repairs. But when we went into the merger phase, we had no capital money, and so we have seen significant decline in certain schools like Millington and Lakeland Elementary in Arlington. And so I agree with Eddie. I believe that they should have some piece of that. What that amount is, I'm not sure. They would love the ADA split, but there is a cap on capital at the county level until we begin to hit our debt ceiling. So my thought is they deserve some of it, yes.
okay, Bill.
Let's talk about the mechanics of the districts that you serve, because one of the hardest things to explain to voters, I would imagine, in this election is that if you lived in one of the multi-member districts that had 3 commissioners, you didn't vote for 3 people this time around. You voted for one person because the districts all got changed to single-member districts, which makes those districts a lot smaller. Eddie, talk about the campaigning in that way. You had a smaller area to cover, not that it wasn't a lot of hard work to cover that area in the campaign.
It was a lot of hard work. There were some excellent candidates in my race. So for every vote that I got, I really, truly had to fight for those votes. But I want to thank those people in the district that voted for me, put their trust and faith in me to go out and represent them. There was a portion of Whitehaven, and then you had Oak Haven around by the airport, and then Parkway Village and Fox Meadows, which is the larger part of that district. And then you had a segment of Hickory Hill. In campaigning, I ran for state representative once, and 5 of the precincts were a part of that new district. And so I had some familiarity with the voters. But it still was difficult because there were some good candidates in that race that made me have to fight. That district is made up of, you got the airport, you had a lot of industrial companies, big corporations in that district, Cummins and Sharp and all of the logistical warehousing in that district. And I'm just thankful that the people chose me to be their representative.
David, your area is Bartlett and Lakeland. The voters in that area saw a lot of you as a school board member as we went through the merger and the demerger too. So they were certainly familiar with you. Obviously it didn't amount to enough votes to change the outcome, but do you think that there were some people who maybe held that against you, as well as some people who said, yeah, he did a good job with that?
Right, so I think it was a combination of those things. I started out on the school board at a very small piece of Bartlett. Then after we went through the merger, I had a district the size of like Mark Norris's district. I mean, it was huge. It was all of North Shelby County, 130,000 voters. And then when we went to this, I only had Bartlett and Lakeland. The people of Bartlett and Lakeland identified me with the municipal school movement. And I believe when we look at the numbers and when they come back, you're going to see a substantial amount of first-time younger voters who voted in a primary. There was a large turnout of moms and dads, I call them soccer moms and football dads, who went to the polls and voted for me because they had easy access to me during the merger. It was a level of customer service that was tough,
Right.
because they always had access to me.
And your district, it was its own single member district, right? It was not your district was partly one of these super districts. But do you like
Mine was.
They're all single-member districts.
They are now, but they were going from that
Right.
super district.
Super
Do
districts.
you both prefer that? That you're not? I mean, that you're real close to the people. I mean, I assume that's what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
absolutely. I mean, we. The thing is that you can't provide a level of service
Right.
with such a large district.
Yeah.
Right, and I agree with David on that.
Because that was a big fight when the county commission was restructuring. We had people on here. Some liked the super district, some didn't. But you like this more tightly drawn
Right.
district.
It puts you more in touch with the constituents.
Yeah.
The super districts were huge.
Right. Right.
You would have 130, 140,000
Right. Right. Okay.
people in it. So
Let's switch to some issues. I mean, some that we talk about on the show. Maybe it came up in the campaign, and it will come to you as when you are in the county commission. One is, pilots. You talked about industrial area. We talk about economic development and tax base, and it can be a controversial thing that the county or any of the local entities that are using pilots and other sorts of tax incentives. Some would say tax giveaways. Depends on your perspective, to recruit or retain businesses. And I'll start with you, David. What's your take on that and the county's use of these sort of incentives to recruit and retain?
Well, whether we like it or not, pilots are an industry trend across the country. And to be competitive with states like Mississippi, who provide a pilot or they provide a personal income tax rebate to companies, we can't compete with companies that move to DeSoto County if we do not have a way of attracting and retaining business. And my issue with pilots are we collecting the money, first of all, and two, we should not eliminate the education portion of that. Now, I believe that if we create more of a vocational tech environment that has connection between our businesses and creating a ready-made workforce, and we allow kids to go directly into their business, and they don't have to recruit. It lowers their cost of business and it creates business opportunities and jobs for our kids. I think that is an incentive that we can do in lieu of a pilot, but we have to get there, and we're not there yet.
Yeah, I see you nodding as he was saying that.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with that. I'm not against pilot programs. I don't think you should give companies coming in a lifetime pass, but to get in here, to get their feet on the ground and get established, and I'm not sure where that needs to be, and you say how many years we'll give you this just for bringing your business here. But by the same token, a lot of the businesses don't want to come in because they say we don't have an educated workforce. So we're going to have to improve on that to be able to draw them, but you're still going to have to give them some kind of incentive. So I'm not against it. I just think certain measures have to be put in place to attract them here.
Another issue that comes up a lot on the show, comes up in the paper and so on, is the spending on big projects. Everything from Bass Pro to Crosstown, and it's generally more the city that's funding big dollars towards projects like that. But the county, it's always kind of a footnote. The county has thrown in a mere $1 million or $5 million or something like that. Projects like in your district, the big infrastructure improvements around Graceland right now. Do you feel like the county government side has been responsible in terms of the funding it's done to support big ticket projects? I'll start with you.
I'm not sure how much they've done. I know they don't do as much as the city when it comes to that. And if they're putting their fair share in, I'd have to look at it to see if they are, and if we can do more. I would like to see them to do more, because even though they live in Memphis, that's still a part of Shelby County.
And David, do you feel like the county government is too much of a bank kind of supporting some of these big ticket projects, or and what's your perspective going to be on that going forward?
Well, from a county viewpoint, I don't feel like we put a lot into the pot. I feel like a lot of it is funded by the city of Memphis. I will tell you this though, I believe that the focus of focusing most of Memphis's money into its core is important. The problem is the city of Memphis has gotten so large and annexed so much area now, they cannot equally do those big ticket projects across the entire city. If you go to Raleigh and you go to Frazier,
Right.
which is, if you've been out there in a while, that place has been laid to waste.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why is they're paying 2 taxes, but they're not getting the benefit of 2 taxes. We really need to look at a strategic plan for Memphis in terms of making it more compact, more robust, and focus its resources into its core, because today there's not enough of its resources to focus into its, what I would call its suburban
Yeah.
areas.
Yeah. Bill.
I want to go back here to kind of talk about what represents a new beginning to some degree with the new majority on the county commission. Are there directions that the commission has not gone into, areas that they've not discussed, that either of you would like to see the body go? We've talked about pilots, we've talked about economic development. Obviously, those are important issues. Education is certainly an important issue. But in their discussions, as you've watched it, are there areas that you've seen where you said, I think the county needs to be involved in those areas?
I think the county needs to take the lead on the long-term strategic plan of the county. We have municipals that are within the county, but there is nothing that is strategic about all of them working together. I feel like it's been so divisive based upon districts and schools and turf wars. But what we've done at the Shelby County school level is we have found our strategy. We're looking for literacy rates to go to a particular level. We're looking at increasing graduation rates. But we've not laid out that strategy. Now, what I want to see the mayor work with the Shelby County Commission and us work with the different governing bodies to come up with a Shelby County strategy. And that will dictate what areas that we begin to delve into. But one of the biggest ones from my viewpoint is I don't believe a child or an adult should learn a trade for the first time in prison. We have prison programs where people learn more skills than they learn in school. So we need to talk about our resources and where they are best focused in terms of preventative measures versus having to deal with them once they are incarcerated. So from my viewpoint, I'd like to see the county take a bolder, a bigger leadership stance in terms of bringing all these people together, and let's come up with a comprehensive plan for addressing it.
Eddie, what's the commission and county government not working on that you think they should be?
Well, before you can figure all that out, everybody has to come to the table, sit down, talk about what their concerns, their issues are, put it before the commissioners, and you take those top 3 priorities. And I think we should focus on that, because now we are letting them buy into what it is they want the commissioners to do for their communities. I could go all over the place in areas, but before we go there, we got to sit down. We got to talk about these things and then move forward. Because if we don't, we'll get the same results that we've been getting.
And let me throw something on top of that with Eddie, is that we really need to focus our resources on what is the good for everybody in the county. Because I look at the school level, we had a $750,000 ACT prep course that only a handful, several thousand out of 145,000 kids they used. But it was not providing a valuable experience for every child, and it was expensive. So no, we eliminated that. I mean,
yeah, Eddie, he also talked about the criminal justice system. Do you think our criminal justice system is as effective as it should be? Do you think that our system is working the way that it should be?
It's working, but I don't think that it's working as it should be. We can do some improvement in that area. One of the things when you coming out of the urban areas, they feel like that the system only works against them. For me, if you are breaking the law, then hey, the system is working in the way that it should. Coming from Whitehaven, South Memphis, North Memphis areas, the people in those communities feel like the system is not working for them. So from a commissioner's perspective, I think we can do some improvement in that area and what we do so that that system is fair for everybody.
Just about a minute left. Your take on law enforcement and its effectiveness, or what can be done better countywide?
Well, I think law enforcement, I think they are effective, and I think that they do a good job. Where we are ineffective is our preventative means in terms of keeping children and young adults from choosing a life of crime. And the way, and I alluded to that earlier, the way that we mitigate that is we give them a better choice than a life of crime. But you have to have a job that pays enough to where you can actually go into the workforce and support yourself and support a family.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that we change the minimum wage, but what I'm saying is we provide them with a trade that provides a wage that is acceptable.
Yeah, I mean, when we had back in the fall, the folks we had a number of shows with county public defenders and the district attorney, and they really all said the same thing. I mean, that they would like to focus on the worst of the worst, but there are a whole lot of people who they are getting good job training in the local prisons and so on. It was an interesting conversation. Congratulations to you both. Thank you both for being here. We're out of time. Thank you, Bill. Good night. Join us again next week. Thanks.